The following video is a tribute to James Rolfe, also known as the Angry Video Game Nerd. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
I'm gonna play a game from my past because it's bad and really sucks ass, and get all mad once again in a tribute to the AVGN. Here come the tears and all the pain as I fire up this terrible game. And if people don't like it, well, tough, 'cause it's time to play some stuff. Yeah, some people, they just can't get enough. So it's time to play some stuff.
It's time to play some stuff. David Crane's Amazing Tennis. The only thing amazing about this game is that I ever put up with it for any respectable length of time. This game was one of the biggest examples I had growing up of how graphics don't make the game. This game didn't mess around. I mean, just take a look at the box. Trade in your racket for a game controller. Amazing Tennis redefines the term state of the art. Every aspect of play has been recreated to ensure precision, feel, and accuracy other tennis video games can't match. It uses motion picture quality animation, provides a revolutionary gaming experience, and it's the next best thing to being out there on the court yourself. They even had some stuff going on with Foot Locker when this game came out. They even digitized the voice of a famous tennis chair umpire. Gaming Magazine said that they created the most realistic version of tennis to date. And just look at those screenshots. Wow, this game had some awesome graphics back during the Super Nintendo days. But as we've come to know over the years, when it comes to games, sometimes presentation isn't everything.
Well, there's my copy of it, and I know what you're thinking. Okay, Jay, what's with all the video store stuff? Yeah, we got like a plastic case here. It even has a very, very old and very, very worn out photocopy of what's left of the instructions. So yeah, what is it with all this video store packaging? Well, how I got this game is a pretty interesting story.
Blockbuster Video. Perhaps you may have heard of these folks. Well, once upon a time, Blockbuster was kicking everybody's ass instead of the other way around. Blockbuster, of course, being the up-and-coming big chain at the time, provided some stiff competition for smaller video store chains, and sometimes those smaller video store chains just closed up shop. One such small chain around where I grew up was Video Galaxy. Ah yes, I remember Video Galaxy. That was the first video store I can remember renting Nintendo games from as a kid. Whether as a reward for being good or as something for me to do because my folks were renting a VHS movie, renting games as a kid was probably one of the things I looked forward to the most when I found out we were going to rent something. Times and markets changed though, and when the Video Galaxy stores around here closed up shop and were liquidating their inventory, my folks went and picked this game up at a discounted price. We didn't have the kind of used game market like what we have now back then, so this was a rare opportunity to get a rather inexpensive Nintendo or Super Nintendo game. Ultimately, although my folks meant well, they really had no idea just what they were buying.
But enough of that nonsense, let's fire this thing up.
So it starts off with this absolute entertainment screen and stuff, and all that's missing is, and now our feature presentation. Then comes the title, and hey, look, an Andre Agassi look-alike. Well, you might as well get used to that because this game did come out around that time, late 80s, early 90s, so no big surprise there. And you got this whole pink and purple background and stuff like that and things along those lines. And then, of course, if you just let the demo keep going, it shows all these tennis balls jammed into a chain link fence saying who did what, etc. Also, let's take a few seconds to have a good long listen to this music, because in this game, you don't run into real music like this all that often. Okay, that's enough. Next screen is your options screen where you select one or two player, what type of court you want to play on, who's left-handed, who's right-handed. You can also go up against individual computer opponents, or you can enter the tournament, all while something that sounds like a pre-programmed beat from a Casio keyboard plays in the background for quote-unquote background music. Then, of course, you got name entry screens where you, enter your name. I mean, do I really need to explain this? all while something that sounds like a pre-programmed loop from a keyboard plays in the background. Told you real music was hard to come by in this game. And of course, if you selected tournament mode, you'll see a screen with who's going up against who and stuff like that. Alright, enough menus and name input screens and stuff. Let's play some tennis! And the crowd goes wild! Alright, graphics look pretty cool so far for a 16-bit Super Nintendo game and stuff. So, let's get this game going here, shall we?
Fault.
What?! Let's try that again! Oh, come on!
Double fault.
This right here is one of the first problems with this game. As we've already noted, this game has some pretty nice graphics. However, along with those really nice graphics come some nice complicated animations for just about everything you do in this game. And believe me, you're going to see every single frame of them. The problem with that is it makes the controls rather laggy. Instead of pushing buttons to do stuff in this game, like hit the ball a certain way or something like that, you push the button to start doing something. And where you are in the animation, or tennis swing in this case, determines where the ball goes. Now, this kind of mechanic would have worked well in a baseball game where you're standing around waiting for the pitcher to throw the ball, but tennis is fast-paced, helter-skelter, and you're always running all over the place trying to hit the ball after your opponent sends it right back to you. So put two and two together here, and these kinds of mechanics in this kind of game can make your shots rather hard to control. Also, note the extremely low camera position in this game and how low to the ground it is. This is supposed to enhance the realism, as we read before, but if you've ever played real tennis, you know that you're always running all over the place, looking in every which way, trying to hit the ball back to the other person. This low camera angle is more along the lines of if you were filming a tennis match and you were strafing back and forth across the court to catch everything on film. It's supposed to enhance the realism, but really it just makes things a little more chaotic than it needs to be. This also makes serving fast, aggressive serves into a fine, precise art. Slow serves are easy. I mean, you can just tap buttons for that. But fast serves, you got to get the timing down pat in order to not fault.
Change ends.
Change ends. Now, remember what I was saying about that camera that was really low to the ground? Here's where it really becomes a pain. What? You've got to be kidding me! The net's covering up my whole part of the court! How am I supposed to see what I'm doing? Oh yeah, maybe on PlayStation they could have had a 3D tennis court and they could have actually rotated the camera, but this is Super Nintendo we're talking about here, so instead you just got to play on the far side of the court. At this point, the net becomes your worst enemy, and you might as well just charge the net and hit everything from right behind the net, assuming your opponent doesn't just lob one over your head. Seriously, what were they thinking? I know they were trying to be realistic and stuff with this game, but at what cost? Come on, I mean, you can't have it where whether I do good or not depends on whether I'm on the near or the far side of the court from where the camera is. And remember what I was saying about your opponent lobbing it over your head? Well, the AI does some of that too. So yay, I just lost a round because I was on the side of the court where the net's blocking my view. This game, I swear. Oh, but it gets worse. Remember all that stuff I was talking about earlier? Well, here's where it all comes together. You actually get to serve on the far side of the court, too. And remember those super precise serve mechanics I mentioned earlier that you need to get down pat in order to do a fast serve? Well, guess what? They still apply. Even though you're way over there, your character is so small, and you can't half see what you're doing because the net's blocking your half of the court. I mean, give me a break. Well, we've talked about the graphics and the gameplay and stuff like that. Now let's talk about this voice announcer that the box was bragging about. As you can see, he does a pretty decent job announcing stuff like 40, 15, love 30, and stuff like that. Some of the samples, though, are just a tad off.
Advantage receiver.
Advantage receiver. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto? Oh, okay, I know. I'm just nitpicking, but, this game did put up a good effort, but sometimes, cosmetic stuff just isn't everything. Things like fancy graphics and sound effects and voice work and stuff like that just doesn't replace having an actual game. And yeah, I might as well admit up front, I've been using 2 sets of footage for this video, swapping between matches and stuff like that. Anyways. Now, here's a part where the strafing camera is going to really start to show itself off, so to speak. Now, if you've ever played real tennis and whatnot, one of the things you can do on the court is, well, look around. Look all over the place and see where the ball's going. But with this fixed camera angle in this game, it's more like, you got a camera being strafed back and forth or on a lift or something like that. And sometimes that just makes the game a little too complicated in terms of running back and forth and stuff, because it seems like your character is always chasing the camera in order to hit the ball and all that fun stuff. And for any Retro Duo owners in the house, here's a Famiclone glitch that'll actually help you out. It looks like the Retro Duo doesn't properly render the net in this game. So as you can see, you got the big blue line across the top, and my character on the far side of the court actually appears to be running in front of the net. So yay, the ball gets affected by this too. So a Famiclone glitch actually makes the game a little bit more playable. Who'd have thunk it? All things considered, this game is playable, and it looks really good for its time. I'll give it credit for that. The thing with that is, there was a game that came out before this one that wasn't as good looking, but a lot more playable. I had that game before this one, and so did anybody else that owned that game before this one came out. What game am I talking about? Well... yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Super Tennis. 1 year before Amazing Tennis was released, we had Super Tennis. And you had singles mode, doubles mode, a world circuit. You could play all different kinds of game modes and stuff. You had various characters to choose from, and things along those lines. But most importantly, you actually get to play at a camera angle where you can see everything. I mean, sure, it looks more like a regular tennis game you would have seen on the NES or the SNES at the time, but it's just a lot more playable, a lot less of a learning curve, and just easier to pick up and play in general. And while we're at it, let's fast forward to today with Wii Sports Tennis. What kind of camera angle is this at? Really low to the ground, or where you can actually see what you're doing? Seriously, there's a fine line between a game and a tech demo. You get razzle-dazzled by the cutting-edge technology in a tech demo. But a game, it's nice if you can play it. All things considered, if you really want to go out and play this game, by all means, go play it. It's not the worst game in the world, and it just takes a little getting used to. But there was just so much potential here. So much potential with the graphics and the voiceover work and all this other stuff that really could have made this game great. But unfortunately, it looks like all we're stuck with is just wasted potential. If you want, do like I did. Play this game for a bit until you get sick of it, and then just go back to Super Tennis. Or something else. But yeah, that's all I have to say about this game. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay. Game on.
Game.
This has been an extra special episode of Play Some Schtuff and a tribute to the angry video game nerd. It's hard to believe, but next month the AVGN will have been on YouTube for 5 years. So kudos to James and everybody that's been helping him out with this stuff over the past 5 years. Keep on kicking ass, taking names, and tearing up those horrible games. This is MultimediaJay, signing off.